From working at a bicycle repair shop since the age of 8 to becoming the owner of the world's largest motorcycle and automobile manufacturer, this is the story of how a poor boy from Japan created Honda. Soichiro Honda's journey to the top of the automobile industry was fueled by his childhood love for cars and his dedication to never giving up. What challenges did Soichiro face along the way, and how did he overcome them? Let's find out. Humble beginnings. Soichiro's climb to the top had humble beginnings. He was born in 1906 in a small village named Tenryu Shizuoka near Mount Fuji. His father, a local blacksmith, spent his days fixing bicycles, and this is where Soichiro spent most of his childhood. During this period, Japan wasn't the economic powerhouse it is today, and cars were rare. Soichiro would actually go the first 8 years of his life without even knowing what a car was. Once he saw one, however, he was hooked. The mechanical monstrosity rumbling and racing in front of him filled his 8-year-old mind with curiosity, and, without even knowing why, he started chasing after it. It was the first car I saw. What a thrill! I could not understand how it could move under its own power. And when it had driven past me, without even thinking why, I found myself chasing it down the road as hard as I could run. His love for cars, combined with his passion for working on mechanical repairs with his father, eventually evolved into Soichiro hating formal education. In 1922, at the age of 15, he decided to drop out. Soichiro wanted to work on cars and sent a letter to a Tokyo-based automobile repair company called Art Shokai. Art Shokai was one of the largest automobile companies in Tokyo, and Soichiro thought that, given their size, they probably needed workers. Luckily, his guess turned out to be correct, and the owner of Art Shokai offered him a job. Delighted at his luck, Soichiro packed what little luggage he had and bid farewell to his parents. Arrival at Art Shokai. Once Soichiro reached Tokyo, he was taken back by the fast-paced city life. After a talk with the owner, he realized that the job he had left his village for was to babysit the owner's child. Disappointed, Soichiro considered going back. But the thought of returning home as a failure was enough to stop him. Soichiro made no money for the first few months he worked as a babysitter. However, once the demand for mechanics rose, the owner, Yuzo Sakakibara, had no choice but to get Soichiro working as a mechanic too. Although he was young, Soichiro was passionate about what he was doing and wanted to prove himself. In just a few months of working as a mechanic, Soichiro caught everyone's attention. His talent and, most importantly, his passion caught the attention of the same owner who once thought Soichiro was too inexperienced to do anything. And soon, Soichiro was training under the guidance of the owner of Art Shokai himself. Automobiles hadn't penetrated the Japanese market like they had in America. Cars were considered a luxury, and only the elite could afford to drive and maintain them. Due to the lack of demand, the cars were foreign-made and varied widely in design and performance. From Lincolns, Mercedes, and Daimlers, Soichiro worked on every major car brand during his time as a mechanic. This first-hand close contact with the inner workings of different automobile engines helped Soichiro understand how engines worked in great detail. As cars began to rise in popularity, so did racing. And in 1923, the owner of Art Shokai, Sakakibara, decided that he wanted his company to step foot into the racing world. Sakakibara, along with his workers, built 2 cars, the Art Daimler and the Curtiss. Built using the engine of a Curtiss biplane, the Curtiss won first place in the Japanese Motor Car Championship in 1924, with Sakakibara's brother as driver and Soichiro as his accompanying engineer. Soichiro kept working at Art Shokai until 1928. In 1928, Sakakibara decided he wanted to open another branch at Hamamatsu, and Soichiro was picked to manage it. Despite a slow start, Soichiro's branch started booming, and in just 2 years, he had managed to turn the branch into a 30-man operation. While his repair shop was climbing the ranks, Soichiro wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. His love for racing was still there, and along with his trusted workers, he built the Hamamatsu racing car. The car ended up breaking the record for fastest speed at 120 kilometers per hour. Unfortunately, the record wasn't the only thing Soichiro ended up breaking. In 1936, Soichiro was involved in a serious accident and had to spend 3 months recovering in the hospital. He did return to the racing world, but quickly decided that racing was best left to the professionals. By the end of 1936, Soichiro decided it was time to move on to better things and founded his own company, Tokai Seiki Heavy Industry, to develop piston rings. This decision turned out to be a failure, as Soichiro's pistons turned out to be a bust. His first order came from Toyota, who ended up rejecting 47 of the 50 pistons he sent. The failure broke Soichiro, and he toiled day and night to come up with a better design. By 1940, Soichiro had perfected his redesign and was getting orders from all over the country. The company grew to over 2,000 employees, and that's when it happened. In 1941, Japan started the Pacific War, and Soichiro's company came under state control. At the same time, his male workers began to resign, and Toyota ended up taking over 45% of Tokai Seiki's heavy industry. As if all this wasn't bad enough, his factory became the victim of a direct bomb blast and was completely destroyed. The only thing left of Soichiro's company was his Iwata plant, which in January of 1945 collapsed after a severe earthquake. By the time the Japanese surrendered, Tokai Seiki's heavy industry was all but gone. Selling off what little remained of his dream, Soichiro went on a hiatus. After the war ended, Japan entered a period of severe economic hardship. It was during this time that Soichiro came up with the idea of a lifetime. He decided that the best way to travel cost-effectively was to use a motorcycle. Soichiro invested what little money he had into the Honda Technical Research Institute and started manufacturing motorized bicycles using recycled engine parts. The motorized bicycles, an early alteration of what would later become the iconic Honda bike, quickly became a huge hit. Soichiro decided that it was now time to build a motorcycle of his own. He started with an engine and, in 1947, released the Taipei engine. This was the first engine with the Honda logo. By 1948, Soichiro ran into some capital problems and asked the Japanese bike owners for help. He received a large sum of money so he could construct the motorcycle and help out his countrymen. Using this investment, Soichiro developed the Model D and the Super Cub. The Super Cub ended up becoming a global hit, and with a price of $295, 1/4 of what the US was selling Harleys for, it outsold both Triumph and Harley-Davidson. Using his racing knowledge, Soichiro constructed a bike, and after some initial losses, Honda ended up winning first place at the international race at the 1959 Isle of Man tournament, the biggest motorcycle race in the world. Building on this success, Honda became the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer by the 1960s, after selling over 10 million units globally. Being a global success and completely taking over an industry wasn't enough for Soichiro, however, and he kept going back to his original passion, automobiles. Unlike motorcycles, Japan had a well-established automobile industry by now, and Soichiro was advised not to risk trying his luck there. Determined as ever to prove others wrong, Soichiro dived headfirst into the automobile industry, and Honda debuted its first automobile in 1963. The T360 mini truck quickly came followed by the S500. Both the cars failed to create much of an impression. The real game changer, however, came with the release of the Honda Civic in 1972. The Honda Civic came with never-before-seen compound vortex-controlled combustion technology. The timing for the release of the Civic was also perfect. Thanks to the compound vortex-controlled combustion technology the car came with, it was highly efficient. America and Europe were going through an intense oil crisis during this time, and something as fuel-efficient as the Civic took over the market. Capitalizing on the success of the Civic, Honda quickly released the iconic Honda Accord. Originally a hatchback, the Honda Accord was quickly released as a sedan, and thanks to its unbelievable fuel efficiency, catalytic converter technology, and wide interior space, the Honda Accord became one of the best-selling sedans in the world. Honda was finally taking over. By the 1980s, Honda had taken over the Japanese market and was the third largest car producer in the country. By the end of the decade, it had left the Japanese market far behind and was the third biggest car company on the face of the earth. Reminiscing on his success, Soichiro Honda said, "Looking back on my work, I feel that I was doing nothing more than mistakes, blunders, and serious omissions. But I am proud of the achievements, although I did one mistake after another. My mistakes and failures never occurred for the same reasons." As of right now, Honda is the world's largest motorcycle manufacturer and the largest manufacturer of internal combustion engines worldwide. They've diversified into everything from garden equipment and marine engines, power generators, and even artificial intelligence-powered robots. On that note, we must end today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and if you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you're kept up to date on all our latest uploads. With that, take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.